All right, well, thanks for joining us today, everyone. So close to the holiday, we appreciate it. I would just ask that everyone please silence their cell phones and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. Thank you all so much. So with that, we will move into an approval of the agenda. I apologize. Is there anything that we need to move or modify, Tim or my fellow board members?
No.
No? Good?
No.
Okay. All right.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Great. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All right. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Community informational items, Commissioner Munch.
I don't have anything today.
Commissioner Fiedler?
I don't have anything either.
I think for me, just thank you to Patty for serving us for so long, and we wish you well on your next chapter. So thank you for your dedication and good luck. And just be careful with the snow. Know that the plows are coming out, so be mindful of that. If you have questions about plowing, you can always contact Road and Bridge. There's a form on our website that you can fill out. If you have questions, concerns, complaints, comments, and that will get to our Public Works Director, Michael Irwin, and Chris Ortola, and they're very good about communicating back. So I encourage folks to do that if they have questions or comments.
Yeah, good note. And also, if conditions get worse and we lose power or whatnot, emergency management and everyone has planned for an alternative shelter for folks, but hopefully we don't get there.
Yeah. Sign up for emergency alerts on our website.
Yeah,
Any commissioner clarifications today?
nothing from me.
Anything? Yep.
No.
All right. Seeing none, public comments on items not listed on the agenda. So we will, if you are on the Zoom and you have a public comment that you would like to make, if you could please raise your hand, and we will call on you in order. There's nobody in the audience today. Emma, if you want to make a public comment, you're welcome to.
I'm good today.
Okay. Is there anyone on the Zoom that would like to make a public comment today? Okay. So we will move on from that into our new business. Okay. New business updates on the Leadville Lake County Community Justice Center, led by Commissioner Fiedler.
Yeah, I can lay in. First of all, sorry I don't have a written update from our owner's rep DPM, but we'll get that. We'll get a written write-up, I assume, probably early in the next year to just keep that track record of having those documented and available to the public. But I'll give a few highlights of where we're at. I mean, design continues, hitting some milestones. We're almost at the end of sort of schematic design or design documents and moving into beginning actual construction documents, like what people moving earth and building stuff. Sorry, I lied. Well, I'll tell you, I'll go with my list and I'll come back and see. So some milestones, we've put in the initial application to the city, which is a big step, and the project within city boundaries. Related to that, we had a hearing before the City Historic Preservation Commission. They needed to issue an advisory opinion on whether the project had an impact on the landmark or historic district in the Main Street area. That was a unanimous decision that while the building design doesn't fit a historic building profile, it does not have any negative impact. That's a big step. That opinion will go to the State Historic Society, which is part of the federal money hoops we have to go through for the $3.5 million or so federal earmark. Some other small steps have begun consultation with CDOT on the access and turn lanes off of Harrison and what construction will happen there. We've got a sewer opinion from sanitation that says the current sewer line can handle the site, which is huge because that would have been a potentially huge expense and additional sort of like time and construction because that would sort of obviously have to go in first. So that's great news. We have a draft materials management plan which sort of outlines how we'll handle, obviously we're in a Superfund site. There's known contamination to some degree on that site. That's been an issue raised by the community. This materials management plan, will detail exactly, now that we have a clear site plan and sort of construction design, we can say what we are and aren't moving and what has to be capped and how that's all going to be handled. That's, I believe, gets reviewed by CDPHE, probably EPA as well. I'm not sure about that, but it's because it's within the Superfund site, it gets closely scrutinized. So early in the new year, we'll be able to go out to the community and neighbors and give very clear details on exactly what's there, what's being moved, what's not, how it'll be handled during construction, and how it'll be sort of capped and protected. I was going to mention the underfunded courts application. I don't think, do we have like final formal?
We will know the status of that tomorrow. They'll
Okay.
release the funding for those
That
applicants
letter,
tomorrow. I think
But
that there were only 2 applicants.
Okay. And
Us
we
and
believe
Werfenau.
it went well,
Yes.
which is, again, hopefully potentially significant, hopefully on the order of $2 million addition to the to funding for that project. Yeah. So again, every bit helps, and we will are continuing to search for additional grant and other funding models. The kind of courts. Oh yeah, we have a grant for modeling and explore 8 or more sort of energy efficiency options for the building, and also to do modeling on going all electric versus being sort of more conventional electric natural gas. Still tidying up some parts of that, but one of the, I think, encouraging and interesting findings there was that going all electric, the operating costs, estimated operating costs of heating the building aren't higher for all electric, which is a typical concern. So I won't go too deep into that. I think. So we have, so January 11th, we'll get another round of pricing estimates from FCI, the general contractor. So early in January, it'll be another big sort of check-in date on the overall project budget. I think that is it. And again, sorry, we do have a written update which will circulate, and the Justice Center website page is due for a pretty significant update. We'll post all the very lengthy detailed documents for the city permit, and our schematic design documents are public, and we can post either excerpts from that so people can see the site plan, and there's a lot of information on grading, access roads, where utility lines will go, everything, as well as external renderings. So,
cool.
Any other questions?
I don't have questions.
But yeah, I think looking further ahead, once we get that pricing estimate in mid-January, I think we'll really know, and we'll be getting into the point of having to actually lock in some decisions on, green lighting the project and COP, and beginning to lock in bid packages, for subs, and because especially with some of the supply chain issues, we really need to get some subs locked in and some materials ordered for the 23 construction season.
Cool. No questions for me. Thank you. Okay. So we will move on to item number 2 on our agenda today. Consideration of a bid for trauma-informed work culture grant for Lake County Department of Human Services. And this will be led by Janine McGee, who is our Director of Human Services. So Janine, I'm gonna turn it over to you. And really all of the next agenda items are pretty much you. So we'll introduce them and then let you just talk through them.
Okay, thank you. So this is a bid for services for a grant that we received from the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing to focus on a trauma-informed approach to work culture with the intention of impacting customer service and recruitment and retention. This person who we recommend is highly experienced in this area, has a background in organizational communications and in the field of trauma and resilience, and has gone into specializing in working with coaching leaders to improve their resilience and how to mitigate the impact of trauma in the workplace. So we're very excited about this person. The initial RFP did not get any results, so we actually reposted it and got this bid. And the goal of the project itself is to be able to do some data collection around impact of vicarious trauma on our staff, and then to implement some measures that we help to reduce that trauma and to build resiliency, and then to do some follow-up data collection to determine impact, and with the intention of building a long-term strategy and plan for our department. That it could be this is sort of a pilot for other counties and other departments of human services, but certainly other county departments as well. There's excitement in our region, and I think at HICPUF around this project. And it's specifically, the funding is specifically for our public assistance unit, but we're also expanding it to our entire staff. So this is the bid. We also have her contract available. Chris was fabulous at pulling that all together so that we could hopefully approve that in one swoop, as we are a little behind on the project with just getting this contractor in place.
And I've provided the standard professional services agreement to accompany the bid. So
Okay.
I haven't heard anything back on that in terms of any comments, questions, or concerns by the contractor. So I presume we're good to go on that.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Janine, this is for Julie
Yes,
Yeah,
Julie.
I think Rains Institute.
Rains
Yes,
Institute?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
I had one question, and sorry for not digging into the packet deep enough. If it's in there, is there a county cost match or cost share with the grant, or is it sort of 100%
No.
grant? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I'll move to approve the proposal on contracting with Rains Institute with the Department of Human Services.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
Nothing from me.
Not for me.
Thanks, Janine.
Thanks, Janine. Is there an opportunity for this to blend into other county departments once you've completed this?
Yeah, our goal is to make a presentation to you all as a board and share our results, as well as make some recommendations for how this could be expanded to additional work, and whether that means that we, that proposal may be to continue with this contractor or put out an RFP, and also to seek funding opportunities for this work. But it also may just be the takeaways that we receive from this and how we can implement those as a county. And the goal will be to identify, we are creating the tools that will measure the impact of trauma. So that could be, those will be something that we can utilize for any department going forward, sort of measure what's the impact. And it's fabulous to have Julie do this work because that's what she does. So she's also doing an environmental scan of what is the philosophy of leadership and how does that support the work as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Janine. Go ahead.
I think she's just doing this, I mean, obviously it's just with the Department of Human Services, and I think I'm just eager to get that kind of scan and get that embedded into how we're all working. But that doesn't currently, like, she won't necessarily do that or speak to. Will she speak to the board at all and Tim? Because
yeah, I think our goal will be to present to you all and show you what surveys we've implemented and put in, and then also be able to share the data and what we've learned from that so that we can implement it, on a larger scale for sure. So we definitely, that's the goal. Is there hasn't been a lot of measures for data collection specific, and so we're really wanting to tailor it to sort of government work, and that's something that becomes ours as part of the project to utilize for
Okay. Cool. Thank you, Janine.
Yeah.
Great. So we do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? No? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you, Janine. Next we have consideration of the CCAP MOU between Lake County and the Colorado Department of Early Childhood. Janine, this is a renewal of the CCAP MOU.
Yes, it is. You guys have already approved and signed one earlier this year, but then the counties came back with some revisions that they weren't happy with. So we're now signing the revised version.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't have any questions on this. It's really straightforward. I'm good. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. No, significant changes that the other counties to cover?
No. I mean, it's more in the details. And ours, we're less impacted by some of this since we understand our CCAP.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
I think these are all those things that Dr. Roy was telling us about, that she's going through all those rules and redoing all these things with the new department. So
okay.
Yep.
Okay. I will move to approve the CCAP MOU between Lake County and the Colorado Department of Early Childhood.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, Janine, the next one is also for your department.
Yes.
Consideration of approval of the county merit system certification letter for the state of Colorado Department of Human Services.
Yes, and this is something that you all look at annually. We are required to document that we do a merit system evaluation and pay our staff in a fair and comparable manner. And the way I like to explain this is that we're in a state supervised county administered structure, which means the state provides us with a lot of our funding and oversight and guidance, but then they also say, for example, you're going to be providing child welfare services in your county, but we want you to assure us that you're going to pay your staff well, they're going to be well qualified, that you're measuring that, and you're not just putting anybody into those jobs or trying to save money by not paying well or hiring less qualified folks. So this is that certification that we agree that we're holding those standards.
I don't have any questions on this.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move to approve the county merit system certification letter for the Colorado Department of Human Services.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No, thanks.
All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Janine, this one is also for your department. Consideration of approval of the TANF Financial Assistance Program. So I think we have to submit a plan to the state for TANF and agree to participate in their program.
Yeah, and this is actually sort of that community tailored piece. Since you all have passed the budget, what we had in the budget was the proposal to purchase additional TANF dollars so that we can do some unique work in our county. So this is initial proposal to you all to let you know what we're envisioning that we could do with this. There are some very specific details that we'll be working out, but this is a pretty overarching view in terms of, and this is based on conversations that I had with Tim and the board. I think you might have remembered in just my initial budget presentation that we can do additional things with our TANF dollars. And those services can be available to families who make less than $5,000 a year and have children in the home, and somebody in the home is a legal permanent resident. So this is one proposal. There's a number of different things we can do. As you all were able to listen to, some of you listened to during the CCI conference presentation. But what we are looking at is making some additional financial assistance available to folks in the community and providing them with connections to public assistance programming at the same time. So this assistance falls into several categories that is meant to be available. And the primary areas are transportation, students or workforce training, and emergency assistance. The pretty broad group of options there. And our goal is to have this funding available, dedicate a TANF case manager, publicize it in the community, get the application out there, and then determine qualifications. And as I mentioned before, at the same time, connect folks to benefit programs that they may or may not be aware of for the long term.
And with some level of case management, you're helping the immediate need, but also then connecting to programs and educational opportunities to help make changes or improve kind of long-term.
Yeah, the person who we envision would serve as this case manager is our existing TANF case manager for TANF enrolled clients. And what that means is those are folks who are on the TANF Basic Cash Assistance Program, for which there is a requirement of a work activity and a whole plan. So in order to get basic cash assistance, the requirement is that the household income is very low. And then also it's supposed to be a pathway to work. So the goal is that they have an entire plan that they work out, identify barriers, and then they have to check in regularly and turn in hours of work activity. And that's very customized what that work activity looks like. So the person who's doing that with our TANF caseload, which is about 7 to 10 folks, 7 to 10 households, at any given time, is also going to be the person who will do this larger financial assistance program that's available to any household with less than 75,000 income and children. And so they're already familiar with the resources in place in the community, job training programs, how to get folks connected with that, how to just identify barriers as well, whether that barrier is transportation, or it could be childcare, it could be getting new tires. It could be getting that certificate. It could be getting work boots. It could be a range of things, but this funding can also be used for things like back to school clothes or mid-year clothes, winter clothes. So what will happen is that they can fill out the information, and then they get an initial sit down or telephone call with the case manager who reviews their situation. And then that case manager will present a monthly list of recommendations for funding. And we'll have a committee that will determine, make those decisions. And then we'll be able to disperse those funds. If something presents itself as a true crisis or big emergency, we'll have a little bit of an expedited process, more than a month. But yeah, so we have some experience at doing this.
I'm wondering too, I see last on your list is like after school clubs and sports for kiddos, Get Outdoors Leadville and or the other, like Ski Cooper, I don't know. It's not the mountain, is it the Cloud City
Mountain
sports? There's two different, like the school team or whatever, like.
Yeah, we can pay for fees, we can pay for equipment, we can pay for any costs related to any activities, which sometimes what we're finding from our connections with the school district is that that is coming up fairly frequently, like kids might not have the right shoes for basketball, or they may not, equipment, depending on what sport it is, can get to be expensive. So we're also going to be outreaching to the school and, coaches and let them know that this assistance is available.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was my point, the outreach to those folks and however we can help. If you have kind of a little one pager or something that we can share with folks, that would be great. And then the CSU extension person, as we kind of learn what the resources are there, I think that might hopefully fit in with that training, additional training for parents and kids, and with healthy relationships or other offerings.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be doing outreach to all community agencies, doing advertising. We want to put some information on the county website, making sure that folks know what's available, and then also how to reach our case manager so that she can do initial assessment. Our case manager, in preparation for this proposal, did some existing research on existing work that's out there. So what she noticed is that the Denver Human Services has a Facebook page specifically for their program for financial assistance. It's from TANF funds. So she's been looking around to see what are other folks doing, just to let people know that this is available. And a lot of that is through cross referral. And we do have a really good connection with the school district for anyone who's showing up there, Bright Start as well. We can connect in case they don't have kids school, but we're definitely anticipating that this is going to be word of mouth, but we'll be helpful and we'll get folks out and applying.
Hello.
Great.
How are you today?
Thanks, Janine.
I don't have any additional questions on this.
That's good.
Okay.
And our next step is really just we'll start to put it into place, but we wanted to get your official thumbs up.
Awesome. Well, all right, I will move to approve the proposal of the TANF Financial Assistance Program.
Second.
Any further questions or comments on the motion?
No, thanks. We'll just be in touch to learn more and understand how we can help promote the opportunity.
Yeah, and we'll be making sure that the case manager's double checking for any other services that folks are getting, so we aren't duplicating efforts or services at all with anyone else.
Yep.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, Janine.
Yes.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Moving on to the next. Consideration of funding of retention bonuses for all full-time and part-time county staff from the American Rescue Plan Act funding in the amount of $133,383.65. Tim, you can talk us through this.
Sure. So part of the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funding, allows for retention bonuses or for funds to be spent on our staff. So I thought just tis the season, and also just a reward and an incentive for our staff of all of the work that they have done this past year. Literally in every department, everybody has stepped up, become more efficient, driven our financial and budgetary goals forward. So I think a nice thank you to them is worth it. And yes, it comes out of the ARPA funding, and it would be $750 for full-time and $400 for part-time.
Cool. I don't have any questions on this. I appreciate you and Allie and Crystal being able to put this together quickly. I think it's very well deserved. Our staff has worked super hard to create a financial management plan and abide by that plan and really be so forward thinking. And so I think it's money well spent. But I don't have any questions.
Absolutely. No, thanks for bringing this forward. Yeah, and I think it's really exciting just watching that shift with your leadership throughout the organization of culture and just improving that sense of responsibility on how we serve the community and apply the revenues we have.
Yeah, I agree with all that, and as Pat also, I mean, most, if not all departments at some point in the last year have operated short-staffed, while we've been trying to fill vacancies, which has been hard in the current climate, and we see that and appreciate that. So, yeah, and we know people always have the option to work somewhere else, so,
Yeah.
Glad they
Yes.
Right.
we truly appreciate the hard work, and the retention bonus is well earned.
Thank you.
And thank you to Allie for pulling it all together.
Thank you, Allie. Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Okay, I'll take a turn. We're halfway through.
Yes.
I move that we approve the proposed retention bonuses for all full and part-time county staff using American Rescue Plan Act funding in the total amount of $33,383.65.
No, second.
Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
None for me. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. The ski council leave, can we, or at least, is this done, or do we need to?
Well, I was gonna say, it's done. We've gotten the sign off from both the Mount Massive Golf Club and on the consent and the sublease with the Leadville Cross Country Ski Council. So I have the final documents
For us to just
for
sign.
y'all to sign in regards to the consent, and I think that's the only thing that y'all need to sign. So
Okay,
Okay, yeah, I just have
Go
one
ahead.
clarifying question. I lost track of where we were in the back and forth with them. Does this include the clubhouse use, or is that
Yes.
still, okay, great,
yes, it
okay,
is.
fantastic.
The golf course has accepted the last iteration of the operating plan, which included use of the golf course and stuff, and it looks like that they, both sides compromised some and came to a good arrangement.
Great.
Just a note, Anne had come up from Community Planning and Development asking about some special event permits that she has received for those, for who, if they're not through the Nordic Council, who should they go through? And we spoke with Dirk from the Nordic Council. They need to get permission from the Nordic Council, which in turn needs to get permission still from the golf club.
It has to be reviewed. They have to present the special events for review.
Yeah,
okay.
to all of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that may be a point to bring up in the future when we renew.
Sounds good.
We'll see how that works.
It's not a situation where essentially they really aren't in a position to bar them from doing the special events. They just need to know what's going on essentially. So I don't anticipate an issue if what you're alluding to is that the golf club might say, no, we won't.
Yes,
allow
that
these
is what
events.
that was part of the conversation.
Yeah, that is not my understanding of the intent. So.
Oh, that
Okay.
they don't
It's
need
just-
to actually give permission, they just need to be
To
aware.
Go through the special event permit.
Yes, and also they have to present it to the golf course,
Board.
board.
Okay, just for a point of information.
Okay,
That's the intent of it, yes.
That is the intent.
okay.
All right.
All right, thank you, Chris, for tidying that up for us.
Well, I'm glad you finally got it done, you know, just the way, they took my documents unfortunately, and I guess in circulating, they ended up a little wonky with the formatting, but it's just so the signatures start on bottom of this page and go to the next page for each commissioner, and then
All right.
for your group, and then what's attached to it is the signed sublease agreement and the final operating agreement. There are
Okay.
exhibits to it, so it's all here.
Cool.
So we need to
And
approve.
now just into the 22nd.
Second.
So should we approve this
No.
version executed?
I think you approved it pending final, so I think.
Final legal review.
Right, so.
Okay.
I think it's ready for your signature.
Okay. Very good. Well,
So you can remove
point of
item
information
7.
for
Yeah.
7. Great. All right.
Consideration of a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2022. I think we are moving this to next Friday.
Yes.
We'll have a quick Zoom meeting in the morning on Friday, December 30th, to allow us to post this in the paper and still do this before the end of the year. So we'll move this to December 30th. We discussed that with our finance director this morning. Tim and I both did, so that's where we're at.
Okay.
Crystal is working on getting some final dollar amounts and that kind of thing. So that'll give her that little bit of extra time. Consideration of amendments to resolution 22-29, a resolution for a supplemental budget to fund patient services payroll for St. Vincent Hospital District for the month of December in the amount of $436,642. Tim and I have met with the hospital yesterday and today. Tim, if you want to take the screen, share the screen, whatever you need to do. I believe, I believe the actual dollar amount is 480,000, correct, Tim?
Yes, but your resolution 2229 was approved for the 436,000.
Yes.
The request from the hospital is back to the full amount, or the original request of $480,000 for payroll.
Okay. So we went through some revisions on our original resolution. We're still talking through some things with the hospital about going into 2023, transitions of services, those kinds of things, that I think we'll be able to support them in 2023, depending on the timing. But Tim, do you wanna
Yeah, once I get it, I will share.
share the screen? Or here, I'll give you the mouse and the keyboard if you wanna come
And
sit
so
up
what he's
here.
gonna share is a marked up version right now with some changes based on conversations and stuff for y'all to consider. And then we'll try to now go through in real time and make any additional changes that you want in order to create a clean version for y'all to adopt.
Okay. In the conversations today, it sounds like there may be some additional opportunity for some grant funding to supplement this 480. So the request dollar amount could actually change in the next few days or the next week. It sounds like the need for the funding is for payroll beginning after January. They'll be able to cover the funds on Friday, but they'll need the funding for the first pay period in January to pay some of the service providers. And that dollar amount may ratchet down based on some additional grant funding, correct, Tim?
Yes,
Opportunities?
yeah.
So one question on that, or I can hold on.
No, go ahead.
If it's for payroll in January, is the form of our resolution then sort of like authorizing a payment kind of like up to this amount, and the hospital would kind of invoice us as needed? Or I mean, just wondering, like, are we, well, when we get to it, we should just answer the question of whether we would be actually releasing the funds to the hospital in that full amount right now, or is it like an authorization to the finance department to sort of?
Well, I was gonna say the recommendation would be that if you
We wait.
adopt the resolution today, that the payment would be made the first week of January.
January 3rd.
Payroll, yeah. So that we can find out if it needs to be adjusted based on this potential grant funding.
Great.
As well as as you'll see, revisions to the resolution provide for them to repay it within fiscal year 2023, which if it keeps it within the 1 year, so it's not a multi-year obligation. If you were to pay it before this year end, it would make it a multi-year type of obligation, so.
But if it's in the one fiscal year?
The 1 fiscal year, so
Okay.
that we can try to avoid triggering a TABOR issue.
Okay.
Hospital, not the county.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody see that?
Sure.
It needs to be for the month of January, so I'll
Oh, okay.
for lots of too.
Okay. I don't know, do you have any amendments to your whereases?
I don't think so. We didn't talk about the whereases. I don't think we have any concerns with whereases.
Okay,
No, we don't, I think the one, that they raised a concern about, I think we talked through and they were okay with it the way it was, based on our discussion.
let's see, so,
Before we go on, I'm sorry, with the heading that I just revised, the heading of the resolution to say for the month of January in an amount up to $480,000.
go ahead.
Well, yeah, January, but
Up
in
to.
an amount up to,
We get in the title too.
Yeah,
in you put an in before amount, sorry, instead of the.
Okay. All right, so in discussions with the hospital district, we have realized that the Lake County Treasurer is entitled to collect those fees. So we've stricken things from this document about the treasurer fees. To be clear that the way we would, if you do approve this, the way we would fund this is out of the general fund, not out of treasurer fees. And if the hospital district would like to speak with the treasurer about the treasurer fees and the purview of his office, that's fine, but I don't think it's the purview of the Board of County Commissioners to ask them.
so Patrick would make that determination to waive the fees?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
All right. So we went through these with the chair of the St. Vincent Hospital District Board of Directors, the interim CEO and CFO, and their legal counsel.
oh, yeah. Go ahead, sorry, Tim.
They're fine. We discussed these. There were some small changes to section 3. Just ensuring that things are required by law for the special district for posting what we've requested them to post. Section 5, we did, the proposed change is that the St. Vincent Hospital District Board of Directors shall not make any further requests to the Board of County Commissioners for contribution of funds during fiscal year 2023. Up to you guys if you want to make it longer, shorter. But I think it's very clear based on community feedback that you should be the payer of last resort or never resort. So ensuring that for 2023, there'll be no more Lake County government contributions.
Okay.
Okay. Section 6 stayed, that the board shall make a good faith effort to repay all voluntary contributions made by the county to the district within 1 year. Section 7 is things that their interim Kelly Johnson, their interim CFO, has already been working on, but we do agree that this should stay in the resolution. Section 8, the St. Vincent board agrees with.
Change to section 9 was
Yeah.
just because leaving current in there would implicate the interim CEO and CFO as well, and so agreed that it was appropriate to take that out, that word.
Yeah.
Change to section 11 is to reflect what they're already on a path to do, without the forensic aspect of it.
In talking with Kelly, it sounds like we want to be able to have conversations with the St. Vincent board about what we want to see, like what roadmap we want to see that got to this point, which they are open to doing, to painting that picture and that transparency for the community and for us. But we want to be sure that we're pursuing the right thing.
Right, and getting the right kind of information that you want. Also, because they've already started doing some of this work, one of the concerns was that it might be impossible for them to actually complete it within the 9 months, the first 9 months of 2023. And so they've asked for 18 months following the start of the new year to complete these three. It's essentially 3 different processes there for a basic audit, a single audit, and a fiduciary evaluation. The fiduciary evaluation, I think, is what's targeted at replacing the forensic aspect of it.
Yeah, we just want to, they're very open to having these conversations around this and creating that roadmap. We just want to be sure that we are getting the answers to the questions that we're asking and not getting a product for questions that, or answers for questions that might not match the questions we're asking.
And the other driver for the changes in this section was apparently they priced out what it would cost to do the forensic audit, and it's going to run, about $30-some thousand per year audited. So, making the prudent decision not to spend $150,000 over the next year for the forensic audit, given their financial situation, probably makes a lot of sense.
But they are amenable to creating the whole picture,
Yeah.
Right,
bringing us
exactly.
full circle.
And they'll also, I think, Tim offered to help try to see if there's some state funding to
Or
help offset
partnerships.
the cost of
Yeah.
the audits that they're going to do.
And and the time period of 4 years will at least cover, the former CEO, but then also prior to his tenure. So that at least.
Yeah.
To have a better.
We see the
picture of it.
transition and,
Yeah.
okay.
So is there, I think we maybe mentioned it very surface level throughout the rest of the sections here, but as far as like finding out how and what went wrong, but starting now and moving forward for the right submission for reimbursements and all of that, like, is there, I mean, I don't know that we require that, but I think I'd love to understand, and the community would love to understand what they're doing today moving forward, so that, I mean, I understand that there's a process to kind of get accurate reimbursements and certifications.
Section 3, does that touch on that for you in terms of providing, you know, because that's forward looking.
No, I guess I am, like, I just would love to know if they are flagging and doing administrative recording and tracking, but if they feel like they're doing that better now, so that they can actually get an accurate reimbursement when everything is kind of ironed out, and hopefully all the certifications or the NPIs are.
Yeah, so I think, and John, this question is kind of geared towards today, but also towards tomorrow. Of if we do, you know, if we look back for your claims, 90 days of the 120 days, like, are you at least able to flag things now and fix things looking back? Or is it just a forward focus on fixing the cost report and moving forward? And, you know, the last 90 days are irrelevant. Does that make sense?
John Gardner,
John, are you
can you hear us?
able to answer?
Or is Kelly on?
Oh, there's Francine
Or
and Jonathan.
Francine, I don't know if you can answer that.
Can you restate the question for
Yeah.
me? We caught the last part of it. Are we only
Sure,
looking
so,
forward on, was that the question?
well, okay, so from our understanding of where you're at with the way you bill and the way you code and everything, things aren't being done correctly. So are you doing that 90-day look back to try and recoup that funding? Or is that too much work and we're just forward focusing and ensuring that your billing is done correctly?
No, there has been ongoing attempts to try to do what's called a paper rebill and try to recoup some of those services where things weren't appropriately coded and therefore denied. So that is part of the process. We're also, part of that process, as they go through those things, they're obviously identifying more and more areas where the billing process has issues and looking to fix those moving forward. But yes, short answer to the question is we are trying to recruit as many of the funds as we were allowed to bill.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that-
I'm back. I'm sorry, guys. I got a phone call.
That's okay. I think Francine answered our question.
Oh, okay.
Do you want him to elaborate further?
Well, I didn't hear-
Go ahead, John.
Well, I don't know I didn't hear the question, so.
The question, well, go ahead and
It
reset.
was just, you know, if you guys are doing the 90-day look back and looking at things that, you know, whether building correctly, misclassified, not coded correctly, and then denied, if you're actually trying to recoup that funding, or if it's just more of the forward-looking focus to fix your, the way that you bill.
And also, if I could add, is if NPIs change, how, can you only go back that 90 days for reimbursement? Or can that be, if you start a process to actually get proper, or I'm sorry, whatever the correct terminology should be, the NPIs, is that, and are you able to go back retroactively once all those certifications or the classifications are changed
So,
beyond that?
so the first part of the question is,
Yeah, we're doing look back. Yeah, we're making judgments. Does it look like it's money that's we think we can recover? We'll try to go get after it. I know we're doing that quite a bit with particularly with our behavioral health program. In terms of going back, it really depends on the payer. Some payers say, if you don't submit a bill that's accepted within 90 days, you run into timely filing issues, and they won't accept the filings. I know that our accounts receivable staff have been working with insurance companies, explaining the circumstances about the NPI issues, and we're finding that some payers are willing to waive the timely filing issues. And unfortunately it's a time. The big issue is it's a time-consuming process to work through all that insurance bureaucracy. But we're trying to get as much money as we can.
And then, John, can you just touch on like looking forward with the issues with credentialing and the NPIs?
Yes. So we're actually working with an organization called TRC that they specialize in kind of the whole what I call the revenue cycle sausage, looking at all the pieces that feed into essentially creating a bill from making sure you do have the proper credentialing and getting people's NPIs to a lot of times we see people when they're getting services that has to be pre-certified, they make sure that all the pre-certification processes are in place. And then there will be actual review of the bills. I think that one of the flaws that a lot of hospitals make, and I think St. Vincent's did the same thing, is they make the assumption that the electronic health records are generating accurate bills. And I think what a lot of organizations do is they make sure they get medical records teams that evaluate what kind of what the electronic health record generates as a bill to make sure that it accurately reflects what was actually done to the patient, and that frequently requires taking a look at the notes that the physician puts into the chart, and how that impacts the coding. So, and it's the same process where we'll continue to work with our insurance companies to make sure we have contracts that reflect current market rates. So that's kind of all the stuff. That's just kind of those are pretty intensive activities, but I think in the long run it's going to truly improve the level of the patient service revenues for the hospital.
Okay.
Is that address your concerns, Commissioner Wood?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. We discussed section 11. I don't know if the commissioners have other feedback or questions on that.
No.
What is the difference between an audit and a single audit and a fiduciary evaluation?
So an audit looks at your whole book business. Single audit looks at your federal funds.
Oh, okay.
And the fiduciary evaluation is more like reviewing like business model, what were you doing, we're following through on everything.
Yeah.
Basic gist.
Yeah.
Because the forensic audit will, and it was excellently explained to us by Kelly, the interim CFO, of the forensic audit is going to look for fraud and to say like, was X fund used to pay for X vendor? No. Okay, what happened? I don't think we're looking at fraud. It was sophisticated enough, so we're just looking to uncover the bad business decisions that were made.
Okay.
Did not have any feedback on section 12. I think section 13 is one we do need to discuss. So I think we have a commitment from at least 2 of the St. Vincent board members that the ambulance service will stay at St. Vincent for 12 months. During that 12 months, the county, EMS, and fire service will create a contingency plan of what it looks like for the county to take over that service or to help provide that service outside of St. Vincent. So I know this says 4 months, which will hold all of our feet to the fire to at least start this process on that, but I think it is 12 months. And Francine and Jonathan, I'll let you comment from St. Vincent's perspective.
Could we phrase it as like up to 12 months? But I agree, 4 months to have kind of an initial push and initiate those conversations. To engage every player in our community, like you said, to be a part of it and determine what the next chapter of EMS for Lake County looks like.
Okay.
Instead of saying 12 months, I would just delete the first 4 months and just leave it at 2023, because that would be,
Okay.
the 12 months.
So within
Yeah.
2023, yeah.
Yes, or like I still have a lot of questions on, what other options have been pursued. Even just specifically to the ambulance, if that's just our biggest role or concern as a county for appropriate wages, salaries, time off, furloughing, administrative leave. And I would rather see those changes more immediately than in 9 months and get asked for money in 2 months because those changes haven't been made next month.
I think Francine, we discussed this a little bit ago, but if you want to go over all the steps that you've made in terms of the staffing changes, reductions in salaries, those kind of things.
There have been some staffing changes that have occurred, some through attrition and some through purposeful elimination and trying to align what the hospital really needs to operate and provide safe and financially responsible healthcare. We are continuing. Kelly is, as she uncovers things and is trying to recreate or create our financials for us, she is able to dig into each kind of service line. So we are looking at those and looking to see where we can make more efficiencies. And obviously the ambulance service is one of those lines.
I don't know. I feel like we have an interest in addressing this sooner than later.
We definitely do want it to be addressed sooner than later. It's just as Kelly was sharing with Tim and Kayla, it's a very deep dive to get these numbers and put them together. So
To do the proper analysis.
Yeah. So we want to make sure we go about it thoughtfully and with the appropriate information. We are, that's been a process that has been going on, and we will continue that process.
So Commissioner Rich, as I'm understanding your request, you're asking them to take more direct action in regards to the current structure of the ambulance service at this point in time versus, and I think what they're trying to say is they're looking at it, they need to collect the data in order to determine what changes make sense with that. Is there a time frame that you had in mind for that? To give them the time, because it's going to take time for them to do as for the deep dive into the data to figure out where those efficiencies and reductions can be.
Sure.
made.
I don't know. I'd love to just aim to have a cost neutral service, and whatever that means. I feel like if we need to take where the hospital needs to make some changes sooner than later, and then kind of amend or revise those in iterations.
Yeah,
Based-
Sarah, sorry, Commissioner Mudge, I would say that we, based on the reductions that we have made already in our bi-monthly payroll, we are already saving $1 million a year. So those are happening at large across the hospital. And we have just received yesterday the closest to true financials that are still in draft form or yet to be certified. But the analysis on those, that's going to take some time. But yeah, other cuts are happening hospital-wide for us to reduce our financial burden to the district.
But I guess I can understand your concern too, right? Because we have a financial stake in the ambulance service. And if we get 9 months down the road and we need to pick that up, we will have given that mill levy to another entity, right? And we won't be
Well,
able
for
to use
those
that.
9 months, I mean, you would have no obligation to the mill levy proceeds if in fact St. Vincent Hospital is not providing that service. So you would pay it as long as they were providing the service, but to the point when they aren't providing the service, then you would have the obligation to pay that over to them.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And Commissioner Mudge, do I understand part of your concern though too is wanting to make sure that the structure is a little more normalized, perhaps aiming towards the county structure before the county were to take it over, so the county doesn't end up inheriting essentially the current structure?
Well, I feel like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I
Yeah,
feel
fine.
like we're at a very opportune place where if that transition needed to happen sooner than later,
Yeah.
we're at a place where we can level set
Right.
immediately.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I was gonna say, there would be no obligation to the county to assume those services at the structure that St. Vincent is set up.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I can't imagine how we would if it's not working. And I really don't want, I mean, with the mills that we are allocating to the service now, I really don't want to continue to doing that, to allocate that under a structure that's just hasn't gotten the attention of the administration to restructure. Like, I would love for it to be as efficient and or lean as possible so that we're not, like, that service isn't contributing to the overall problem.
That makes sense, and just a couple of things I'll point out is under this resolution in terms of that they cannot come back and ask for more money to support that in 2023. And so any excess cost above what the mill levy revenues provide has to be absorbed by the hospital. So it's in their best interest to do that
Right.
review and normalize the structure.
So Commissioner Mudge, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
yes,
So, we have, as we talked with Tim and Chris and Kayla, we are committed to having work sessions and looking at, just to your point, other possible structures for the ambulance service, and putting those into place sooner rather than later if we're able to determine there is another structure that addresses many of the issues that surround having staff available for EMS. So it's pretty complicated situation that has to be very, very thoughtfully mapped out before any changes happen, kind of in a rushed manner. But we have committed to have those work sessions with you, so we will be, keeping you informed and apprised and able to take any suggestions that you might want to put forth.
Chief Daly and Jeremiah, EMS Director, and Claire Skeen, OEM Director, have started meetings, but there's a lot to do for this plan, but we have 3 great people working on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a critical service to our community that we need to ensure that there's a high level of focus there.
And all the available resources outside of the hospital and the ambulance service too are being utilized
Yeah.
to make it function.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. The 14?
No, Francine provided an update. They've already worked on this, I believe, right, Francine? You're gonna change your bylaws for some of this and ensure that no, future CEO or CFO can be less than transparent in their reports to the district's board.
Correct, and that there will be a pathway which staff can put forth their concerns, bring forth their concerns if they have issues related to that, and a pathway for which the board can have a more in-depth and an investigation appropriate outside of the board, because we have been told that we should not be investigating these things ourselves, that we should have an outside agency doing them. So we will be putting a policy and procedure in place to address that. We've been working on it. We hope that will be adopted at our January meeting.
And the board has directed the staffing committee and policies and procedures committee of the hospital to organically generate that document and process for themselves to then be forwarded to the CEO, to be reviewed by council and then be adopted by the board. But we have yet to see movement on that. And if there is no movement on that by our January meeting, then we may be in a position that we need to take action to implement and develop that policy on our end. But we are very much leaving the door open for all voices in our staff that want to be a part of determining what that looks like to be a part of the conversation right now.
Great,
Okay.
thank you. And I, just in the spirit of reminding and giving board members confidence and onboarding folks, the thought crossed my head just now of our annual resolution that we have. And, we've at 1.2, we had like an agreement of conduct for the board. I think the more you put in writing like that, that is just very apparent and explicit in offering kind of the chain of command and expectations. It might be, that's not always on one staff person or one board member to kind of continue to inform or preach those things. However, you can just offering that as an opportunity or an idea.
Okay.
And also on that, the school board and the school district has like written board policies on things like voting, norms of behavior, voting, and a lengthy section on the roles of the superintendent versus the role of the board on a number of issues. There's like a literal table of that delineation of responsibilities and boundaries.
Yeah, we've done something similar with Tim, right? Yeah, go ahead, Francine.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, we will definitely be reaching out to some various boards and associations for more, to look at those things that are already in place that we can incorporate and adopt into our bylaws that other boards have done already. So thank you for that.
Section 15, I believe everybody's fine with this, but I do think the Colorado Hospital Association will be advising, and then someone from HICPUF and from the county will be on the committee. Is that what I understand, Francine?
Correct. We also, that has to be our primary lender, USDA and Colliers, have to be included in that process, since they are the primary lender.
Okay. I don't think we need to add that into our resolution with that. Okay. Section 16, Francine, again, I'll let you explain this of the, the changes you've made at the executive level, and then the discussions you've had with staff about the executive staff about their salaries.
Yeah, so, we don't really feel this is a challenging topic. The executive staff deserve to be paid consummate with their experience and their knowledge of the hospital regulations and operations. But we realize that we definitely have too many staff, top heavy in the executive suite. The COO position has been eliminated, and there'll be restructuring of the organizational chart. While we have not personally asked our executive staff to defer their payment, because after conversation with a legal attorney a labor attorney we're consulting with, if they were to go down below 32 hours, they could risk losing their health insurance. And pretty much everybody these days works primarily for health insurance in addition to their salary. But we have had several executive staff members offer to decrease their salaries by like 8 hours a day. So they're still in compliance with the 32 hours as defined as full-time, so they don't lose their health insurance. As we've indicated before, our interim CEO and CFO have been deferring their salaries until they can take pieces of that at a time as it seems appropriate to get their pay. So there are staff members who have volunteered to do that. And we are continuing to look at efficiencies and productivities and whether salaries are in line with the norm for critical access hospitals and rural hospitals.
If you guys have other feedback or discussion on that, thank you, Francine, for the update.
No, I think that's okay the way it is.
Okay.
We totally struck 17.
Yeah. Section 17 discussed the treasurer's fees.
Which we found out that we are collecting appropriately, and it would be at Patrick's discretion for him to be approached to waive those.
So your new section 17 will essentially incorporate what's left of section 18.
Which reads, the Board of County Commissioners hereby approves a payment of no more than $480,000 from Lake County's general fund to be paid on or about January 3rd, 2023. Which payment shall be used solely for meeting the district's payroll obligations and shall be repaid to Lake County within fiscal year 2023.
Is there anything else I thought just keep it straightforward and simple with that,
Yep.
but is there anything else you feel needs to be added to that language?
If we don't get paid back in 23, can we pursue payment in subsequent years?
What do you mean pursue payment subsequent years? So
I don't know, like if they need to, if we don't receive payment, how will we, can we pursue
in
other
terms of,
avenues to get
yeah, I was gonna say,
repaid?
I guess my suggestion would be when the payment is made, perhaps to have some sort of a MOU or something with them, with the understanding as to how the monies are to be handled and what happens if they aren't
Okay.
able to pay it back.
Okay,
Should that be added in to those?
I was gonna say, I can put, or we can put after, within fiscal year 2023 pursuant to of understanding or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do that.
Okay.
Pursuant to. Rather than to. A.
Is that weird to refer, I mean, to an MOU to
Or an
be
IGA.
negotiated or something? I mean, doesn't it be, it seems weird to reference an MOU that doesn't exist yet.
Well, pursuant to a memorandum to be,
To be,
On the
to
terms,
be,
yes.
yeah,
to
There's
be
something,
entered into
yeah.
by the parties.
yeah.
So the next section, I think we need to rework this. We have the discretion of the board if you want to ask the treasurer to not do that, if you want to have a work session with the St. Vincent Board, the BOCC, and the treasurer on what he would be willing to do. I guess just the first sentence, the second sentence should stay.
You could reword it, say, Board of County Commissioners will defer to the treasurer to determine whether the treasurer's fee chargeable against the ambulance service, levy, will be waived through 2023. Something to that extent,
Yeah.
Why,
or,
I mean, as impacting the budget, why are we just, I mean, I get that Patrick can request that of us, or abatements, or he can maybe make that unilateral decision, but
Well, no,
why
that's
wouldn't
why
we be
the-
consulted with?
well, no, I'm saying that you're not, you're essentially acknowledging that the BOCC will defer to the treasurer as to whether he will waive the treasurer's fee. Unless what you're saying, Commissioner Mudge, is that because it does have an impact on the county's overall budget not to collect that fee.
I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I think you're asking a good question. I was gonna say, I feel like at the very least, even if it's the treasurer's discretion, I feel like we would have the right to offer an opinion. I was also, just a broader question for the hospital is whether, I mean, are they actually still requesting this, given the 480 out of the general fund is.
That's a good question.
It just seems like 18 is like so much clearer and simpler. And we spent so much time going around and around on like waiving fees or advancing fees or whatever. I would be inclined to just strike 19 and just put the amount we need in 18
Yeah.
and be done with anything else more complicated.
And then if they want to approach the treasurer, they can do that independently without it being a part of this resolution.
I would encourage them not to.
Strike it.
Okay.
So do that, and so then the next one comes section 20 becomes section 18 then.
Because that's not like the only agreement that they're, like the URA, they give money to the URA,
Right, I
that-
think there are other.
that there are other avenues for them to explore too, with revenue agreements that they've deferred.
Can I ask a general question? I know, thank you, Tim and Commissioner Marcel, for having these conversations. Can you give me a overview, given that we didn't get an update from the manager between the meeting earlier? Like, what, it seems like a different tone from previous meetings, and information that I believe have received from you, Tim. Is there a brief overview of why there might be a different tone right now to looking at this consideration? Is it just that there was maybe an assumption that the ambulance service was needing to be offloaded sooner than later, or did we get more information on more detail on some cost savings and salaries and other operations?
Tone on the ambulance service?
Or on the whole thing.
On the whole thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, yes, what shifted was yesterday that Kelly and John received a draft of their audit. So they actually have like something solid to go off of. And that this request is much more solid kind of than the initial request. And now that we have done the research on like the treasurer's fees and realized that, you know, the treasurer can collect those fees and there's no reason for us to refund those, that there's a shift that the county could out of its general fund payroll for December and January for the St. Vincent Hospital District. I think that after this resolution first became public, I think, you know, Kelly and John and the board, the St. Vincent board, have strove to be more transparent with us and answer questions, especially as the funder of last resort. I don't know, maybe I'm missing it.
No, I mean, I think that's fine. I just, I think some of the ideas being thrown around were some assurances or questions about ambulance service assets and
We didn't actually get to the point of discussing some of that stuff
Okay.
because the conversation wasn't as emergent today as it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Of like, this transition can take longer than.
So those will be the
Yeah.
type of details that will be worked through in regards to whatever plan is established for the transition of the ambulance service to the county over the next year.
okay, if there is a transition.
If there's.
Yes.
Yes, yesterday was definitely much more urgent. I think after Kelly and John spending more time with the audit, and then we're actually thinking through this, like, there's no way we can pull it off in January, in fact.
Right.
We just I think everyone needed the time to think about it, and I think, you know, Jonathan and Francine have thought it through, John and Kelly have thought it through more. And now, you know, we have assurances from them that it'll be a 12-month transition plan. We can actually nail this and do it right, and not create any unforced errors in a transition if it should happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm also assuming in some of the information that John and Kelly have been reviewing, we feel pretty confident that a payback over 2023 of the $480,000 is attainable.
I will defer to John on that. I do think that the amount of work that they've done to update the cost report, their insurance contracts, actually doing correct billing, should put them on that stable footing to make those payments. But John, I'll defer to you.
Yeah, I'm 99% confident that'll happen. We keep finding surprises as we move forward, but we spent the last 6 months trying to put together all the missing pieces in terms of our financial records and what has and hasn't been done correctly in terms of billing and contracting. So we feel very confident that things should be going much better. I keep stressing to everybody, there is absolutely no reason why this hospital should be in this financial position. Had the financial management been managed properly, and the appropriate management decisions had been made, we would not have been in this position. I'm kind of rambling, but I just keep sitting back going, I don't understand how this happened. It shouldn't have happened. And as we fix all the pieces parts, it shouldn't continue.
And if I may, I would like to apologize if our conversation yesterday around the ambulance, you were taking it as this transition has to happen in January. We just wanted to put it out and be as transparent as possible as in the fact that we've been looking at information as Kelly's been able to uncover it and looking at what the ambulance cost us, that we can't continue to sustain these kind of losses, and just wanted you to know that it was very likely that we were going to be moving and voting to transition it back to the county. So if you felt there was an urgency from me that it had to happen in January, I apologize for that. My comment was that we wanted to start having work sessions around it in January so that you guys are, involved, and we're making this a very, a transition that is very much happening between the two of us, and we're all looking at all the pieces to make sure that we don't miss something so that there is a successful transition. I just wanted you to, in the spirit of being transparent and being open, understand that that is probably a decision that is coming forth from us. Not that it had to happen in January, but that we should start having these work sessions in January.
Okay.
Changes to that, the rest of it, so that what would be the new section 18 just references the work sessions with St. Vincent.
Yeah, that's fine.
And 19, the final one, just the resolution will be effective immediately upon adoption.
Thank you for all of that. That all makes sense and increases confidence, but what the changes that are occurring, just for the public's knowledge, what changes have been made in the ambulance service or the emergency room, and what can we all expect moving forward in the immediate future right now? Any changes, or in availability? I'm literally just talking about if you have to use the service, not necessarily, I'm assuming even if staffing is reduced, there's still 24-hour coverage, or is it on-call coverage, or the ambulance service and the ER are still running? Is that correct to assume?
Yeah, our commitment is to continue offering services as is to meet the needs of the community. So we have not changed. The only thing we've changed in our ER is that we've eliminated the urgent care module because it has created so much confusion in billing with their patients and the providers that we need to go back and reevaluate the processes. But the care delivered has not changed, and we haven't made any changes. Actually, there haven't been any changes at this point in the ambulance service that would affect care. And our goal would be, if we make any changes, that we're still offering the same level of services. We don't.
Okay.
Obviously, our goal is not to diminish the services to the community.
Okay. We did talk through things this morning with them about, looking at how your shifts cross your pay periods and if that alleviates any overtime burdens. Not necessarily changing like the 48 hours and 96 hours shifts, similar to what the fire department does.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just shift it back a day, does that change your payroll liability? So Kelly is going to look into some of those things and deep dive into that pretty immediately, I think. Because that will give us a better idea of where we can start from ground zero, really, if we do and take on that transition. I think we're in a place where we can really start from scratch, really. So, but we've given them some feedback that might give them the ability to look at changing those efficiencies to reduce liability.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Does that address your questions, concerns?
kind
No one's always an acceptable answer.
of, yes.
I mean, I think the questions and the conversations I would like to have that maybe you touched on or didn't, are ones to have in work sessions moving forward. And I'm not sure that I have gotten a response in terms of like reducing that overhead of the ambulance service specifically as it relates to our funding of it, and ensure that we're not continuing to operate way beyond our financial or the hospital's financial ability to do that. I guess maybe I just want to be clear, like I'm not back to the point of, I'm assuming people would rather negotiate or understand or take less pay than be terminated. And I would feel better if I were in ultimate control, or we, I think we would be making some of those hard decisions sooner than later. And I'm hoping that those conversations will happen with everyone. And I wonder how much influence we really can have. What that looks like.
Yeah, I think from our perspective as our organization, we've taken that deep dive where we've done those salary surveys and those salary studies to see where we can be comparable, but also understanding that our ability to capture revenue may be different than the entities that we routinely compare ourselves to. And so maybe creating a culture that is competitive with a salary that's within your means is maybe something that I would encourage the board to really look at doing, because we've had these discussions with several departments where we can't pay more than what we can afford to continue to pay. And rather than have high turnover rates, we want to have consistent ability to move our pay scale, in small increments with the economy. But, in hiring Tim's position, that was something we had to really focus on and be cognizant about what we could pay to attract talent, but also changing that culture to retain that talent. So I would, like you're saying, encourage the hospital to really look at that.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say exactly what you said in a different way, I guess, because don't continue to exacerbate the issue by higher salaries than we can afford. The culture is what is going to attract or deflect and repel people from wanting to work in the organization. It's not the numbers. You may have to take an alternate route of, having someone like John and Kelly on for longer. And we went through some similar, experience of just having to have outside help and not the right positions necessarily filled, to get to an organizational understanding of what the expectations should be for ourselves and everyone in it. But we were able to attract folks, and it's nice to be on the other side of that problem.
Yeah.
But it took a few years.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say, probably also restating in different words, but I maybe a little blunter on specifically on the ambulance service. Just, this isn't like a language change in the resolution at all, but just, sort of reflecting on if the ambulance service is currently financially unsustainable, please do not dump that in our laps in 9 or 12 months. Please try to fix that. And if it's fixable, it seems like it could stay in the hospital district. And if it's not fixable, that's just a bummer that you would terminate. I get it, like you need to survive, but again, please take steps through this year to try to fix whatever is structurally not financially stable in the ambulance service. Don't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some things that can definitely be looked at, and I'm hopeful that Tim and I will be in contact with Kelly to like take the lessons that we've learned with like the sheriff's office and their scheduling, or the fire department and their scheduling, and how do you shift this to save, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in overtime, like.
And it sounded like there were billing issues, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
You know, so, I mean, it was some fixes in billing issues, some other efficiencies, maybe that gets it in a much better place.
Yeah.
So,
And through the joint conversations, I am sure that moving forward and making those tough decisions, especially because we'll have been informed and or part of those conversations, I can't imagine why you wouldn't have our full support in some hard choices
Yeah.
that you have to make, so.
Yeah. Okay. So, I will accept it.
I've actually.
Go ahead, what?
So I wrote it.
Right, just for their motion.
Oh, for the motion?
So now we're gonna do this.
Yeah, 'cause I'm gonna email you that.
I mean, we're gonna get our money back.
We're gonna get our money back.
That's just for the motion.
So I'm just seeing you in here.
Okay.
So if you guys,
So we print it out.
I move that we amend our previous resolution 22-29. And the amended resolution is regarding funding for St. Vincent Hospital District for the month of January 2023 in an amount up to $480,000. I'm reading the whole thing into the record.
no, you're
All right, I'll second.
I think just to maybe make one last point on this, up to the 480, they're expecting some additional grant funding where we won't need to give the full 480. We'll know about that later in the week. But this does call out that the district will repay the county for that funding. So I just want to make sure that that's very clear.
Yeah, yeah.
That will be,
This is not a gift.
yes, that this will be repaid. So, okay, any further discussion?
No, I appreciate you making that point, and also it sounds like even from, as it is a, you know, day-to-day discovery, and it sounds like there's better information, and appreciate that being shared to give us that confidence in partnership.
Okay, anything?
That's it for me.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. So Francine and John and Jonathan, we'll wait to hear from you the first week of January. January 3rd is when we're back. To find out the funding amount that you've received from other entities and what our obligation is. And then we'll create that MOU in the meantime and get that ready for the payments.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for being open to having the conversations and trying to understand our situation a little bit better, and just being able to talk through things.
Thanks. We will keep in contact and keep checking in.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francine. Thank you, John.
Okay, the last
you.
thing on our agenda is the resolution. I don't think this is 31. Is it 31?
Hold on.
Yeah, our
think
30
it is.
is ours. 31 is the district's.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So we have resolution 30 and resolution 31. By the mill levy. So this is resolution 22-30, certification of the mill levy for Lake County. Be it resolved that the Lake County Board of County Commissioners hereby certify the following mill levies to be extended upon the assessed valuation of $309,406,131 for Lake County for the year of 2023. Purpose, general operating expenses. The levy is 41.999 with a revenue of $12,994,748. That is also the total. Of the funds levying a mill levy, the general fund will levy 34.793 mills for a revenue of $10,765,168. 0 mills to human services. The ambulance fund will levy 2.456 mills for $759,901. Capital acquisition will levy 0.860 mills for $266,089. The insurance fund will levy 3.390 for $1,048,887. Mine closure will levy 0.500 mills for $154,700 with a total assessed mill of 41.999 and total revenue of $12,994,748.
Can I have
Yes,
a question? Should this have been corrected for no more than 750,000?
yes, the ambulance fund should be. Yeah, I don't know.
759.
90. So it'll be $59,901 will go back into the general fund.
9,901?
Oh, 9,900, sorry. 9,900. So this is 31, and then this other one is 32.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll correct,
Okay, so this is 31. And then I'm gonna correct this to 750. And then we're gonna move the 9,901 to the general fund. So with those corrections, then, okay.
The correction is just the ambulance fund.
Yeah, I have it written on here. I'll give
Okay.
it to you for
Okay.
Crystal to make that adjustment, and then we'll sign it
Okay. Thank you.
if we pass it. Sorry. Yes, Stephanie, I will send you the corrected version also. Okay, so I'll accept a motion.
Sorry, I lost track of the numbers.
30,
So this is 31 for the Lake County
yeah,
mills. Okay, I move that we accept or pass resolution 22-31 for certification of the mill levy for Lake County.
second.
okay. Any further discussion?
Nope, thank you.
All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. This is resolution 22-32, mill levy resolution for fiscal year 2023. Be it resolved that for the purpose of raising revenue for various funds and for paying for appropriations heretofore made and necessary expenses and liabilities of Lake County, Colorado, and pursuant to section 39-10-114 1A IBCRS, there is hereby levied and assessed the following number of mills upon each dollar of all taxable property, real, personal, and mixed, within said county of hereinafter named funds, the following levy. Total operating funds, 41.999 mills. The total is 41.999. Be it further resolved that whereas the city of Leadville has made a levy for municipal purposes and the same has been certified by the Board of County Commissioners as provided by law, therefore, there is hereby levied and assessed on account of the city of Leadville for all municipal purposes and all taxable property within the city limits of the city of Leadville, which is subject to taxation for the tax year 2022 and payable in 2023, a tax upon each dollar as follows: 18.900 mills. Be it further resolved that whereas the Lake County School District R1 has made certain levies for school purposes, and the same have been certified by the Board of County Commissioners as provided by law. Therefore, there is hereby levied and assessed on account of Lake County School District R1 for school purposes on all taxable property within the limits of Lake County School District R1, which is subject to taxation for tax year 2022, Payable in 2023, a tax upon each dollar as follows. Mill levy per House Bill 30-1418, 26.514 mils. House Bill 2014-18 tax credit, 1.045. Net mill levy, 25.469. The authorized override, 22.159. Bond redemption, 6.154. And abatements of 0.056 for a total of 33.838 mils. Be it further resolved that whereas the Board of Directors of the Leadville Sanitation District has made a levy for their purposes and the same has been certified to the Board of County Commissioners provided by law, therefore there is hereby levied and assessed on account of Leadville Sanitation District for the purposes of all taxable property within the limits of Sanitation District, which is subject to taxation for the tax year 2022 payable in 2023, a tax upon each dollar as follows. 3.22 mils. Property tax credit, temporary property tax credit of 1.154 for a total of 2.068 mils. Be it further resolved that whereas the Board of Directors of the Sullivan Lakes Metropolitan District have made a levy for their purposes and the same has been certified to the Board of County Commissioners as provided by law. Therefore, there is hereby levied and assessed on account of the Sullivan Lakes Metropolitan District for all of their purposes on all taxable property within the limits of their district, which is subject to taxation for the tax year of 2022 and payable in 23, tax upon each dollar as follows. General operating expenses 2.765, water-related expenses 14.380 for a total of 17.145 mils. Be it further resolved that whereas the Board of Directors of Colorado Mountain College, of which Lake County is a part, has made a levy for their purposes and the same has been certified to the Board of County Commissioners. Therefore, it is hereby certified and assessed on account of Colorado Mountain College for their purposes on taxable property within the limits of Colorado Mountain College taxing area, which is subject to taxation for the tax year of 2022 and payable in 2023. Total general operating expenses of 4.085 mils. Whereas, be it further resolved that whereas the Board of Directors of St. Vincent General Hospital District has made a levy for their purposes and the same has been certified to the Board of County Commissioners. Therefore, it is hereby certified or levied and assessed on account of St. Vincent General Hospital District for their purposes on all taxable property within the limits of St. Vincent Hospital District, which is subject to taxation for tax year 22 and payable in 23, upon each dollar as followed. General operating expenses, 9.106, abatements, 0.114, for a total of 9.220 mils. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors of Brooklyn Heights Metropolitan District has made a levy for their purposes and the same has been certified to the Board of County Commissioners. Therefore, it is hereby levied and assessed on account of Brooklyn Heights Metropolitan District for their purposes on all taxable property within the limits of the Brooklyn Heights Metropolitan District, which is subject to taxation for the tax year 2022. Payable in 23, a tax upon each dollar as follows, 5.000 mils. Be it further resolved that whereas the Board of Directors of Mountain View Village Water and Sanitation District has made a certain levy for their purposes and the same has been certified to the Board of County Commissioners as provided by law. Therefore, there is hereby levied and assessed on account of Mountain View Village Water and Sanitation District for the purposes of all taxable property within the limits of Mountain View Village Water and Sanitation District, which is subject to taxation for 22 and payable in 23, a tax upon each dollar as follows. Contractual obligations, 50.000 mils. Be it further resolved that the aforesaid levies certified to the Board of County Commissioners by each governmental district and board, and this board, makes no determinations as to whether the same are in compliance with state statutes or Article X, Section 20 of the Colorado Constitution. Passed and adopted at this regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners on the 22nd day of December 2022.
Thank you for reading all that.
Sure.
Are we missing the Panarch Metro or Special District? I mean, maybe.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I actually
Yeah,
was looking
Chris.
at only because I had like a list of like the odd ones that you might not track.
Alta,
and-
Colorado didn't levy
And
anything,
Alta doesn't
Yeah.
levy anything.
so we don't have to put them in there. I do not have anything for Pan. Stephanie, do you have anything for Panarch?
They did turn theirs in. Crystal even sent it to me to look over that and I just missed it, but they did send theirs in, 12.37 mils. So we did get something from them.
Here's Alta's too.
Okay, so they don't
But I
levy.
thought theirs was blank, right?
But we
Yeah.
always put them in there,
Okay, just
and
said
it's zero.
Okay.
Yeah, Alta did send in theirs as well, yeah, but they just said that they weren't levying any taxes.
I mean, I think it's good to just, I mean, it can't hurt to keep them in there.
Yeah.
And levied at zero, and then Steph told you what Panarch?
Panarch was 12.372.
12.37.
12.37. Okay. I will make sure I have them in my packet for the certification. Yes.
All right, so with those additions,
Nice catch.
Panarch, they are in here, 0.370.
okay. 4.3. Okay. Okay. Anything else?
That's it. We do have the TIF, the tax increment finance breakdown. I did send a spreadsheet from the assessor's office to Linda Michelle with this information on their anticipated revenue for the mill levies with the districts that participate in the URA.
Oh, great.
So I have that broken down, but it is included in here.
Okay.
So,
Alright.
okay, so we can approve pending.
Yeah, I'll move to approve resolution 22-32, mill levy resolution for the fiscal year of 2023 with the additions of Alta, is it Metro
Yeah.
District? And Panarch, Special District, and, well, yeah, I'll just.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
No, okay.
Thanks, Stephanie. All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay,
Alright.
thank you all. Bills, payroll. I will make a motion that we approve bills and payroll for the pay period ending December 16th, 2022.
Second,
Any further discussion?
thank you.
All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay,
And then quick question, Cindy, can we get minutes for approval at our,
she sent a bunch.
I've sent a whole bunch. The only one I don't have is the ones for this month.
Yes.
okay,
And maybe one from last month. But
Okay,
I
great.
just finished that one this morning, so I'll send you the rest of those. But yeah, you guys
Great.
have a whole bunch that need to
Yeah.
get approved.
okay.
Yes, then
Great.
she
Let's
has
put those
sent
on
it.
the next meeting.
Okay,
Sounds good.
thanks, Cindy, thanks, Chris.
Thank you all.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Ally and Tracy, hope you have a good holiday. And we'll see you after the start of the new year. We'll adjourn today at 1:30 p.m.